Once they are ready to go, we will get the okay and continue on with the action here at the 2024 IBJJF Absolute No-Gi Grand Prix.
Open class or absolute quarterfinal match. Representing representing Fight Sports, Roosevelt Souza.
Roosevelt Souza, representing Fight Sports, coming out to the mats. 2023 No-Gi Pan, 2023 No-Gi World Champion, 30 years of age, and really in the best moment of his career right now, Jake.
It's a really dynamic competitor, possessor of a deadly straight ankle lock.
Pedro, Rocha.
Speaking of deadly submissions, we got Pedro Rocha as one of the best guillotines in the world right now. He's a 2023 No-Gi Pan Absolute Champion. So he is no stranger to taking on opponents who are much bigger than himself. 29 years of age, representing Team Alliance. Winner of this match will take on Giancarlo Bedoni in the semifinal of this Absolute No-Gi Grand Prix.
Yeah, Roosevelt along with Haisam Rita, definitely two of the largest competitors in the bracket.
Pedro, like you talked about, Jake, has really good takedowns. Needs all the traction he can get for some of these shots.
And we're back. Beautiful snap down from Pedro Rocha. That's impressive considering the height difference between him and Roosevelt Souza. Shallow underhook for Pedro. Looking for the guillotine. Good chin strap.
He's got his arm draped over the neck. Roosevelt clears the grip. Nice work by both Pedro and Roosevelt.
That's a spot where Pedro Rocha is dangerous.
Extremely dangerous. Vast majority of submissions have come via guillotine.
Whoa.
Oh, and he's right on the guillotine.
Oh my goodness, big snap down into the guillotine.
Roosevelt clears the guillotine.
And now he's
Roosevelt
on the back.
Trying to go for the back. Roosevelt looks like he has the choke in.
Both hooks in for Roosevelt Souza. What a turn of events. My goodness.
Wow. From the guillotine to the defense by Roosevelt, right into the back attack.
And they're going to reset them standing up. One advantage apiece after all that.
Amazing start to this match. This is a quarterfinal of the Absolute No-Gi Grand Prix. Pedro Rocha and Roosevelt Souza. We thought this match was going to be based around their submission attacks, and that's what we're seeing so far.
You were right.
Pedro talked about how he trains with his brother, Joao Gabriel Rocha, on a daily basis. So the size difference doesn't faze him one bit.
Yeah, it's got to be the best first round matchup, right? For Pedro Rocha. A great training partner in preparation for a giant like Souza. I'm almost just waiting for something to happen, Danny. I feel like I'm silent because there we go, big single leg attempt.
Talked about Pedro's takedown skills as they walked out to the mat. Roosevelt doing a good job defensively. Now he sits down to his guard. We'll go back to the center. Every time we see Roosevelt compete, we're always talking about his mobility, his flexibility, and the way he's able to play guard like a lightweight, despite being one of the heaviest competitors in this bracket. He's got an amazing guard. It's going to be interesting to see how Pedro decides to navigate it.
Yeah, we briefly brought it up, but one of Roosevelt's signature submission attempts is that deep, conventional straight ankle lock. And he's able to do that because of his ability to dynamically enter different ways into the legs from his guard.
Yeah, it comes from having a good, solid guard. He's able to set up his guard positions, retain his guard, and that leads him into his attacks. We're about 4 minutes into this match, all tied up at 1 advantage apiece. Roosevelt Souza on bottom, representing Fight Sports. Pedro Rocha of Alliance on top. Saw some good guillotine attempts from Pedro. Roosevelt defended them, countered with a near back take earlier in this match.
Nearing the halfway point.
So far, no points on the board.
Roosevelt staying patient, not extending himself too far. Pedro not making really any committal movements. Seems like he's just dancing around the outside. Not looking for really any openings, just sort of staying busy.
Jake, when you're facing an opponent who has such good leg attacks in the form of knee bars, heel hooks, straight ankle locks, is this a good strategy? Kind of stay on the outside of the legs, not get entangled, try to mitigate some of those setups into the legs.
Well, let's compare this to Elder Cruz versus Dante Leon earlier today. Elder was dancing around side to side, but he was continually looking for underhook guard passes, opportunities to leg drag. Now we see Pedro responding a little bit, but what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a lot of side to side, but not a lot of commitment. Elder was continually committing. He was just keeping his legs safe while he was doing it, if that makes sense.
Roosevelt keeps coming up to his knee, trying to engage, make a connection to Pedro. We're 6 minutes in. Still tied at 1 advantage apiece. Pedro on the neck again.
Oh, here we go. Big opportunity for Pedro Rocha.
Nearly past the guard.
And that's an advantage.
And used that guillotine setup to nearly get around the legs of Roosevelt Souza. Roosevelt would not accept the position. Now he's back up to his feet. Pedro leading 2 advantages to 1.
Takes one opening, Danny, for Pedro Rocha to get on the neck.
Roosevelt was looking for those double underhooks. Pedro did a good job defending him. Now tries to pull back into his guard. Pedro disengages. Trying to move side to side. Roosevelt still trying to make this initial connection to Pedro.
One thing I'm reminded of is Pedro moving side to side is forcing Roosevelt to sit up a little further, and that opened up the guillotine earlier. So that's a part of this strategy that I had not considered prior, but after seeing that last sequence by Pedro Rocha, it's got to be a part of the game plan.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jake. See Roosevelt sitting up, scooting closer to Pedro.
Something competitors like John Combs, who has a great guillotine, force their... I was on the receiving end of one. Forces you to sit up so that you get caught in that guillotine, you get caught bringing your head forward, and that favors the person throwing the attack.
Roosevelt gets to the close guard. I think he's pretty happy with this. Wasn't able to get a good connection from the bottom position early in this match. Now he's in a great spot. Start to work some of his attacks. Pedro with his hands on the biceps, trying to create some space, break this guard open. Roosevelt with quite a significant length advantage. I think that's going to benefit him here in this close guard position, Jake.
Now, this is definitely where Roosevelt needs to be in the situation that he's in. Pedro has been so safe all match. He's up by only one advantage. This is a concrete position for Roosevelt to hopefully make something happen. And just as I say that, Pedro breaks away. And now Roosevelt has 1 minute to make back an advantage.
Well, Pedro back on that guillotine, but Roosevelt pulls him back into the close guard.
Roosevelt breaking away. Now, in pushing Pedro away like that, Roosevelt actually sort of attributed to the problem, and that is that Pedro, when he's able to move around like this, he's able to evade, he's able to stay away from the entrapments of Roosevelt Souza. Where he usually shines is when he's able to get a solid foundation, a solid grip on his opponent and pull them into an offensive position. Pedro Rocha is given a penalty. He's going to be forced to come forward.
It looks like Pedro Rocha is going to hold on. Just 3 seconds left. Clock is going to wind down. And Pedro will advance here in the IBJJF Absolute No-Gi Grand Prix. Gets the win over Roosevelt Souza. He's going to take on Giancarlo Bedoni in the semifinal. Some really nice exchanges in that match.
And advancing to the semi-final, Pedro Rocha.
And Pedro Rocha takes the win. Had some great guillotine attempts. Roosevelt had some beautiful defense. But Pedro used some of those submission attacks and threats to earn his advantages and to get the victory. So we got Giancarlo Bedoni, Pedro Rocha on one side of the bracket, Kaynan Duarte and Dante Leon on the other. Let's take a look at the replay. Pedro with a good snap down right into the guillotine. Jumps, tries to finish it. It looked like it could have been tight. Roosevelt pops his head out. Here's another good moment here from Pedro Rocha. Gets that front headlock position, tries to go for the guillotine, comes up on top, nearly gets past the legs of Roosevelt. Roosevelt bumping, doing everything he can to avoid points. Ends up getting back to his guard, but Pedro gets the advantage, earns the victory, and advances.